Welcome to Codex, History of Video Games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I'm Tyler Osby.
And today we're talking about Gearbox. Tyler, you did all the research for this one. I'm very excited to talk about Gearbox with you.
Gearbox Software. This is a company that has been, I've been seeing their logo a lot lately. I know it's been a while since we covered like a company instead of a game, because like lately we've been just like picking a game and like doing that apart. But I wanted to do a company again because I think it's kind of fun to follow like the evolution of a company from like making some certain kinds of games to making other kinds of games. And I think Gearbox has an interesting progression of games. We don't have any insider information here. There's not a whole lot of like interpersonal drama that I want to talk about here. I'm just kind of going to talk about the games and what those mean. But I've been seeing this company pop up a lot because ever since I got my AYN Thor, not a sponsor, but could be.
But they could be. They could be a sponsor.
Reach out.
Man.
You want to send me an Odin 3? I will shill that.
We'll talk
for you.
all about it. We'll sell it for you. We're like the ShamWow guys.
I don't have any. I will shill devices that I think are cool.
Well, we're the Billy Mays of pocket PCs. That's what we are.
That's
we
right.
could be.
So the AYN
Was
Thor
he problematic?
Well, he's gone now, so...
That's true. Rip Billy Mays.
I
said the ShamWow guy. That's a different guy.
The ShamWow guy is problematic.
Okay.
Billy Mays...
Take that all back.
Billy Mays is... Billy Mays, I think he died how he lived on a lot of cocaine. I think like that's the problematic part, is that like he just used a lot of drugs, which is like...
Hey, you know
on the threshold of things that are terrible, like that's not that high on the list in my opinion. So anyway, I've been messing with this AYN Thor a lot, and I've been having a lot of luck with using Game Native to run PC games, including, and I think I mentioned this last week, including Borderlands Enhanced Edition, which is like the 2020 sort of like enhanced remake of it. Runs great on there, but when you're like messing with the settings and stuff, you have to boot and reboot the game over and over again. This is stuff that I find very fun. I know it's not that interesting to a lot of people.
This is interesting. So here's the thing that I want to know. What I don't know what Game Native is. I used Game Hub.
Game Native is like Game Hub, but it's like fully open source, like fully free. So I prefer it over Game Hub when it works. Sometimes Game Hub has between the two, like you can get better results with one or the other. But I always default to Game Native, and then if I can't get something working, then I'll try Game Hub.
Nice. Okay. For all you emulators out there, with your legally owned copies of your games, right?
And what's very cool about Game Native and Game Hub is you can log into your Steam account and just download your games through it. So it's like you don't even have to pretend to pirate. You can just download your games, log in your Steam account. It's no problem. And things work surprisingly well for hardware that is basically a smartphone from like 3 years ago. This is not the history of Android handhelds, although I would love to talk about that, but it could be because I definitely have a lot of them, and it goes back like 15 plus years. But anyway, when you're messing with the settings on these things, you're rebooting these games all the time, and you're seeing, because I got Borderlands going and I was like trying to tweak it and get better performance out of it and stuff, I saw that Gearbox logo a lot, and I was like, you know what, I'm kind of interested in this company. So that's sort of where the inspiration came from here. I did have a lot of luck getting things running on my Retroid Pocket 5. Not everything runs at like a very satisfying pace on that system, but I've had things run a little bit smoother on the Thor. So, but yeah, that's been a lot of fun. So I want to talk about Gearbox. They've done a bunch of stuff, right? A lot of games.
So much stuff.
I have a vague knowledge of like a few things they've done, and of course we're all aware of like Randy Pitchford and how he runs his mouth about stuff, especially recently with like all that Borderlands 4 controversy, which you were directly affected by, weren't you?
I sure was.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan.
Game didn't run. Randy Pitchford said it was your fault.
Yeah, Randy and I are feuding. He just doesn't know it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He doesn't know that we're feuding right now.
He is a leader of a game developer that often has to put his foot in his mouth, which is kind of funny to me.
TLDR, if you didn't know everyone about Borderlands 4, and it ran on my old PC poorly, very poorly. So I built a new PC that I'm using right now, and it just wouldn't work at all. And it was just a thing with their game. And I had everything updated and I did everything right. And I followed all the instructions from their help people. And they were like, well, it's a Microsoft problem. And I'm like, no, it's not.
It's like, okay,
Like,
cool. I still can't
yeah.
play your game. So
Yeah, why do all my other games run except for yours? Like
yeah.
something's wrong here. Like
Yep.
so yeah.
Yeah. So where does this company come from? What have they contributed to gaming? Why is Randy Pitchford such a jerk? We will answer at least 2 of these questions today. Do you have a favorite
Specifically the
Gearbox
Randy
game?
Pitchford one.
Yeah, specifically the Randy Pitchford.
Well, I think
It's Duke Nukem Forever, isn't it?
it is Duke Nukem Forever. You know, we could just sit here and mess around, but we all know it's Duke Nukem Forever. Because who doesn't love being Duke Nukem and then Tiny Duke Nukem over and over again? Because that's what Duke Nukem Forever felt like to me. Gosh, that was so long ago when you and I played it, but that was so fun.
I know.
To me, that was one of my favorite things we've ever done is when we were both played it separately but together. We both got to witness each other be like, what is wrong here?
Yeah.
Like,
Well, and,
what
and
is
you
this game?
finished it. I was playing it on Xbox 360 and I couldn't even finish it.
Dude, I finished it, and do I feel better about myself for finishing it? No, absolutely not. I do not. I feel like I should not. I did not need to do that at all. I beat the final boss, and I think I was playing it in Discord with all our other friends, and they were all doing something, and they were like, "Will you stream this?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "This is the most anticlimactic ending to a video game I feel like I've ever played."
Oh man, Gearbox and anticlimactic endings, name a more iconic duo. I remember when my roommates finished the end of the first Borderlands, and
Dude,
it really doesn't have an ending. It just kind of like
doesn't.
it just sort of like hard cut roll credits.
And you're like building up to the vault. So you're
Yeah.
like building up to this thing and you're like, oh, this is so cool. And then it's just kind of like a non-answer.
Nothing
A little
happens.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit. So
So yeah. Well, here's like a list of things that they've made over their 25-year history. We won't cover all of these today because as I got into writing about all of this stuff, I realized there's quite a bit of history here, and this might be more than one episode's worth of stuff. So, but the big things to talk about, or the big things that they have done are like Half-Life Opposing Force, the expansion pack, Half-Life Blue Shift. They did the PS2 port of Half-Life as well, including the Decay expansion, which we need to play. That's a co-op one. I think there's a PC port of it now, like a fan-made PC port of the PS2
okay,
co-op
so we
campaign.
can play it.
So we should do that. If not, we should try to figure out a way to do the PS2 version. Because it actually got some decent reviews. The Decay expansion did.
Yeah, no, I heard
a
it was
co-op game.
It was a cool concept because it was like Half-Life puzzles, but in Delilah's here.
Podcast producer Delilah.
Podcast producer Delilah is here, and she loves yelling, and that's what she's all about. So
yeah.
That's okay.
In the early 2000s, they were also responsible for PC ports of a few different games, notably 007 Nightfire and Halo Combat Evolved.
007 Nightfire was a banger.
It was on console.
PlayStation specifically. That's what I played it on.
Yeah, I played it on Xbox and GameCube. We'll get to it, but the PC port is not as well received for various reasons.
Oh my gosh. I purchased the in-box copy of Halo Combat Evolved for PC. Did I ever tell you that?
No.
I bought that at Hastings in Moscow, Idaho in 2008 or 2009.
Oh, when they had their big like fire sale of games. Oh man, I bought so many PS2 and Xbox games during that thing because they were doing like 2 for $1, 99 cents. I got a copy of Conquer Live and Reloaded for like 99 cents.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah.
That just like that, not that long. Well, now it's almost 20 years ago. Ugh. like, yeah, sorry everybody. Big time bummers over here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that was how cheap retro games were. Because back then, to like so many people, they were just trash.
Yeah,
like, realistically,
it's the this is off topic, but the curve of like value of a game, like when it's brand new, it's worth a lot. Then after a few years, it like drops pretty steeply, and then it holds in this like lower zone for a while it's an old game that no one really cares about, and then it starts to become retro, and that's when things start to like
it has value.
Yeah, then the value comes back. But at the time that this happened, all of these games went on sale because Hastings was closing, and there were a bunch of PS2, Xbox, GameCube games, which were old at the time, but they weren't so old that they were classic or retro, right? Because we were like in the beginning to mid stages of like the Xbox 360 era. So all of these games were cheap regardless, but then they also were running a big, huge sale, just trying to get rid of everything. I bought so many games. Like that's where a lot of my Xbox games came from.
If people don't realize, no, like Hastings was a store.
Yeah.
In like Eastern Washington, Idaho, like a regional retailer that sold like a lot of books, a lot of used books, and a lot of games, and a lot of used games. And they were like a pretty cool store for this for a long time. But then you could tell they were going out when they started selling skateboards and musical instruments. I'm like, oh no, they're struggling right now. They're flailing.
Yeah,
They're trying
yeah,
it for everything they can. But
yeah.
yeah, it was for a while it was a really cool store. Also free coffee. So
Oh, I don't remember that.
yeah, you can have some Jamaican Me Crazy coffee while you walk around and peruse their used game section. That's what it
Wow.
was called. Jamaican Me Crazy.
Is it really?
Yeah, I'm not joking.
Yeah, so they did the PC port of Halo Combat Evolved. They also have several original series that they did. Brothers in Arms, all those games were Gearbox original.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I don't know, I
The
didn't
Borderlands
realize that.
series, which is probably what they're most famous for, right? I guess I have Duke Nukem on this list, but it's sort of original to them in that they picked up the development of Duke Nukem Forever, and a lot of the people that started Gearbox were from 3D Realms, which made the original Duke Nukem 3D. So, like, kind of. They did Aliens Colonial Marines, which is not really original because that's
Oh my gosh, wasn't that another dud?
I
That
think
was
it
another
was,
big
yeah.
dud.
Yeah. And then they did a game called Battleborn, which unfortunately came out at the
Oh my
same time as
gosh.
Overwatch and just like did not.
I completely forgot about Battleborn, dude. Oh my
Yeah.
god, looking at Destructoid gave Colonial Marines a 2.5 out of 10.
Wow.
Yeah. I forgot. Did I play Battleborn? I don't think I did. I think this was at an age where I kind of knew I'm like, something weird's going on here. You know what I mean?
It was one of those like two very similar, or at least games aimed at like the same exact audience came out at the same time. I'm sure connoisseurs of both Overwatch and Battleborn will be able to tell you that they were actually very different games and they were nothing alike, and how dare you. But it seemed to be targeting like that same sort of audience. And it was just clear that but when Overwatch launched, like it was big deal. It's less of a big deal now, but it was a big deal when it came out, and it was like clear that Battleborn didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, that's a interesting time period. Lost to time. Battleborn was.
Yeah. We'll get there in a future episode, but that's sort of like the gamut of Gearbox. These days they're mostly just making Borderlands games, I think. And that's fine because Borderlands
They're
games
just
are
making the games and then not supporting them.
Yeah. they're generally good games in the sense that like at least Borderlands 4 was well reviewed except for all the technical issues it had, but like the game itself is like considered to be pretty good, right?
I really liked playing Borderlands 4 when I could play it. I had a really
Yeah.
fun time with my friend. We had a really good time playing it together. So
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it was just a technical problem, which might be fixed by now. So, but I'll pick it
I'm
up when
still
it's
gonna talk
$10.
smack about it.
Yeah, I'll get
You
it
know
when it's
what I mean?
$10. They are also a publisher, although their publishing lineup is not that interesting to me. They did like the Homeworld games. They did Fortnite's physical edition for the last generation of consoles, so like PS4, Xbox One. Did you know Fortnite had a physical edition for those consoles? It did.
No,
and it was
I
published
did
by
not.
Gearbox.
That's pretty wild.
So yeah, nowadays like
hold
the
on to
idea of a Fortnite disc means nothing because what would even be on the disc? It would be out of date as soon as it hit the store. It's just a download code now. If you find a like a physical version of Fortnite in a store, it's just a download code for the game with like, you know, however much money you paid for the copy, that much worth of V-Bucks. Like that's it.
I will say, if you have the disc, maybe hold on to it though.
It might, it might end up being worth something someday.
It might be a relic of its time.
I wonder if it's worth
20
anything
years
right
from
now.
You get a price
I'm
charting.
gonna do a little eBay. Fortnite Xbox One. Let's see. Is there a disc? $40.
For the
First
disc?
print, physical copy, clean discs, $40. That's just immediately. Yeah, it doesn't seem like it's too.
Yeah, that held its value longer than you think it would, though.
Yeah, I think maybe it's
Like-
not quite old enough to be a classic.
I have a couple games that are kind of in between right now. I have a Silent Hill game for Xbox 360 that I got in a giant box on Craigslist of Xbox 360 games, and that game alone is worth $50. I found out.
Which game? Sorry.
It's a Silent Hill game.
Oh,
It's
wow.
not a good Silent Hill game. It's not like there was one called Homecoming, but I think this one was something to do with rain. I'll look it up. But
Okay. All right. Well,
I think it's one of those things. Yeah, you keep going. Sorry, I'm getting distracted.
all good. So
Classic.
now that we know who we're dealing with here, this is like the overview of Gearbox. Because I wanted to make sure that like we didn't start talking about this company where people are like, I don't know who these people are, what they've done, and why I should be interested. If any of those games sound interesting to you, or you're interested in the company that made those games, keep listening. If it doesn't sound interesting, keep listening anyway, or don't. It's fine. I'm not your dad. Um,
He's not your dad.
that's true. Confirmed. So they've had some hits, they've had some duds, they've had some mid games, and I think that's kind of beautiful because there are some companies that come out and they do nothing but hit. There are some companies that do nothing but miss, and there are companies like Gearbox that like you never know what you're going to get, and that's kind of interesting to me as a game historian, I suppose.
The fact that they did this, the Blue Shift and Opposing Force, I'm like pretty intrigued about.
Yeah,
Which I did those for the podcast.
I think so. Yeah.
I did those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
did
won't
those
go into too much detail about those games themselves because we've already covered them, but we'll talk about them for a little bit here. So Gearbox
They are
is like,
good.
they are good games. Yeah. They're kind of an earlier story of like a super team of game developers from the 90s all coming together to make like their own version of like a rock super group, like, you know, like the Highwaymen, which is country, I suppose, or Temple of the Dog, or Swedish House
grunge.
Mafia.
Ooh.
Did you know
Really
Swedish
some
House
deep-
Mafia is a super group? I didn't either.
I did not know that, but I do know of them, and I do think you've picked 3 great examples of supergroups. Just so you know.
Oh, thanks. I spent more time looking up rock supergroups than I needed to for this to find a list of
You know
those.
what? But it was necessary for the bit. So
Yeah.
that's good that you did it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
So they started in February of 1999 by 5 members of a studio that was called Rebel Boat Rocker.
That's a good name too, though.
It is. This studio was formed by a lot of 3D Realms and Bethesda developers. So Rebel Boat Rockers was already itself kind of a super group, I suppose. They had talent there, famous for developing games like Duke Nukem, the good ones, and the early Elder Scrolls games up to about Daggerfall, probably because Morrowind would be 2001, which was a couple of years after this company started. Rebel Boat Rockers was backed by EA at that time, but eventually their funding was pulled before they released anything. I imagine they just like maybe went too far down a path of a game that turned out to not be viable, and EA was like, never mind, guys, we're pulling your funding. Go try something else, I guess. So they never released anything, which is like kind of a bummer. But from the ashes of Rebel Boat Rockers came Gearbox Software. In the early days, before they had a proven track record, and in fact, maybe even had like a negative track record if you include Rebel Boat Rockers. I'm sure when you're going to try to get VC funding for something like that, they go, what was the last thing you did? And you go, I want to talk about 3D Realms in Bethesda, not Rebel Boat Rockers.
Let's not talk about Rebel Boat Rockers.
But they in the beginning of these early days at Gearbox, they built their reputation by working on franchises that weren't their own. And so I'm going to say, thanks to what I assume is their great contacts that they had within the game dev space, their first real project that they got to work on was an expansion to Valve's 1998 classic Half-Life. We've all played Half-Life on PC. I don't need to tell you about this game. Maybe we should do a history of Valve games. Have we done that? I don't know. I don't remember.
We've done Half-Life.
We've done Half-Life,
Sure,
yeah.
I did Half-Life, both of the Opposing Force and Blue Shift. So like I don't think I got to Half-Life 2 though. I think I just did the early Half-Lives because that was like a big empty void in my gaming knowledge there, you know?
Yeah.
So I wanted to cover those, but we haven't done Half-Life 2. Valve would be good. Valve though, like they did a documentary that I know it's like their documentary, so you're always a little suspect of like the bias of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's really good. Which I'm like, so if we'd covered Valve one day, I'd be like, can we do a better job than their documentary did? And it's like, I don't know if we can. Like,
Yeah. Unless there's like another angle on it that's like, because I'm sure that documentary is very like, Valve is the greatest and they did all these great things. Like if there's maybe some other angle that's like, actually, Valve is not the greatest and they did some bad things.
The most interesting part about that documentary, though, is they do talk about like what Half-Life 2 episode 3 was supposed to be.
Yeah.
So they like kind of go into that a little bit and explain like what happened with that. And so if you're interested in that, I would encourage you to watch it. It's free on YouTube. So and it's the No Clip guys help make it. So it's really, really good.
I'm trying to remember if I've watched it, but if I haven't,
it's
if I don't
really
remember,
good,
maybe I
man.
should watch it again.
You should watch it. You should just watch it this weekend for
Yeah.
Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
A very
Yeah, very
romantic
romantic.
documentary.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so if you haven't played Half-Life, TLDR is it's a sci-fi first-person shooter where you play as Gordon Freeman, who is a physics PhD. He's like 27 in that game, which I remember.
But he looks 45.
He does, yeah. Exposure to massive amounts of radiation, I guess, ages you. But he accidentally opens a portal to an alien dimension, and then he has to save the Black Mesa research facility by blowing up those aliens. One thing people don't talk about that often with the original Half-Life, though, is that there is another enemy faction in it, and it's the U.S. Marines. And they've been sent to
Mm-hmm.
Black Mesa to destroy everything, especially witnesses like Gordon Freeman. So Gordon battles the Marines and aliens in this game. It's great. If you've somehow missed it because reasons, I don't know. I'm not judging you. There are plenty of classics that I haven't played that I should have. You should, because it's a great game. The Black Mesa project on Steam is like a fan-made remake of that game that is extremely high quality and also sanctioned by Valve. So it's a legitimate way to play the original Half-Life. You played it, right?
I did. I beat Black Mesa, and I would say, because there's a big divide in the middle of Half-Life. There's the stuff in Black Mesa, and there's the stuff in Zen, which is like the alien homeworld. And if you want the Zen section to be good, play the Black Mesa version. Don't play the original.
Yeah.
Because the Zen is not. It's just it's not like it's bad. It's just there's so much potential there that wasn't really. They just ran out of time. I think they even said they ran out of time.
Yeah, it kind of falls apart a little bit at the end.
Yeah,
and and that's why I remember the Black Mesa project taking extra time with the Zen stuff because it was harder to just straight port it. They were like, we want to take the time to like actually make this section good instead of just recreating.
They remade so much, and they added new puzzles and gameplay mechanics to Zen specifically to make it more fleshed out. To compare to because Black Mesa. That Black Mesa portion of it is pretty much as it was in the original Half-Life. And they just took Zen and redid a lot of Zen.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right. I need to play that still, but I have played the original Half-Life through to the end. But Gearbox didn't develop Half-Life. That was obviously Valve. Valve wanted to focus on other projects after releasing Half-Life in 1998, but they knew that they had a hit on their hands and they wanted to strike while the iron was hot. So they hired Gearbox to develop an expansion to the game. And this expansion was called Opposing Force, which is a nice double entendre because it's both you play as the opposing force in the U.S. Marines, but Opposing Force is also like a Newton, like a Isaac Newton law of physics kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's a physics deal, and Half-Life itself, the name is like a physics deal. So they're kind of keeping with that theme. I thought it was very cool.
When they thought of that, they were probably just like, "We did it."
Yeah,
they're
like, this is great. We will never come up with another name as clever as this. But they put you into the shoes of one of those U.S. Marines. So you get to play as the other side in the Half-Life game, which is an interesting take on the events. And it sheds a little bit more light on what the heck actually happened at the Black Mesa Research Facility because you see some other stuff as you play as, I believe his name is Adrian Shepard. Shepard.
Shepard.
So you get to, I always like when a story is told from like another angle and then you like see it through somebody else's eyes.
Yeah, and that's the coolest part about both Blue Shift and Opposing Force.
Yeah,
is like you get to see the story from a different perspective.
Yeah.
So if you're a Half-Life fan, or if not, and you play Half-Life and you're like, I want more of this and I want to know more, then play these two expansions for sure.
Yeah. The gameplay is largely the same as Half-Life. There's a few new weapons, couple additions to the deathmatch multiplayer, which I always find kind of funny. Do you remember when games all just had like some weird tacked on multiplayer? It was like every single game had a multiplayer.
Gosh. Yeah, dude. I think when I think of tacked on multiplayer, I think of Red Faction.
Yeah.
The Red Faction games. Like that's where I was like, they just threw this down here,
Yeah.
It's fine. It was good.
Banjo-Tooie had a first-person shooter multiplayer mode.
What?
Yeah.
I have Banjo-Tooie. I can play that on my analog 3D.
Yeah, so like every game had a multiplayer mode because it wasn't expected that like you needed to support this multiplayer mode for forever. It was just like, I don't know, what if we gave ourselves 6 weeks to come up with a way to like shoot each other in this game? That sounds fun.
It's like, hey, why not? Yeah.
Yeah. I'd say today it's better to not waste resources on developing a multiplayer component that you aren't going to concentrate on, just because there's so much stuff out there now that's like, don't even waste time unless you like are actually going to compete, right?
For sure.
So, but according to what I found online, it took 15 people just 8 months to make Opposing Force, that's just insane to me. Like it was a different time back then.
That's crazy. Yeah.
An entire Half-Life expansion in under a year. Games just take a long time to make now, man.
And it's not like a quick, it's like shorter. Don't get me wrong. I'm going to look up how long.
Yeah, it's not an overly long game, but I want to say it's about the same length as Half-Life. Maybe a little shorter.
How long to beat? Yeah, I'm curious how long it is. 15 to 20 hours. They made a 15 to 20 hour game.
That's longer than the original Half-Life. I'd say the original Half-Life's like...
Wait. No, hold on. That's stupid. I cannot trust the AI answer. I clicked on the link right below it for how long to beat, thinking it would be the same. No, it's 5.5 hours.
Yeah, okay, that sounds about right. I was like, dang, that's like... Maybe that's a completionist. Dude, like, I want to play it. So, like, I don't know. Is there any extra
dude,
stuff
let this be let this be a literary lesson here, because like a lesson in research, because I straight up looked Half-Life opposing force, how long to beat. Search assistant says Half-Life opposing force takes 15 to 20 hours. I click on how long to beat right below it, and it says 5.5. So
Sweet.
if that doesn't tell you about the state of AI, I don't know what will. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. So the game itself was pretty well received, even if it didn't do anything like totally groundbreaking. I think just more Half-Life is like something people were kind of excited for back in the day, right? I think the most interesting thing about this game, again, is just seeing the same events from a different point of view, which is like not really something we see very often in games. And I always love a good perspective shift. I'm going to like opine a little bit on storytelling here, but I think that in good stories, like every character is the protagonist in their own mind, right? Like, and so if you tell the story from that person's perspective, they're the good guy. And I think that's like a sign of like good character development, is that if you look at this story through this character's eyes, do you understand why they're doing what they're doing, even if you disagree? And I think a lot of good stories do that.
Well, I think that also relates most to real life, because
Yeah.
everyone in our reality believes themselves to be the main character in their own story, because they are. So it's like,
Nobody's out here. Nobody sets out to, well, I don't want to say nobody, but nobody sets out as like, I'm going to be evil, right? They're like, I'm going to be the good guy, and maybe I have to do things that people think are bad to be the good guy, but I'm going to do it. Like that's generally like people are the good guy in their own minds. They're not like the villain
With
of their own
that-
story.
yeah. With that said, though, the moment we turn off this recording, I just T-pose until the next time we record.
That is true. You actually
I'm
don't
just
exist.
like this.
Yeah.
And I just sit there and I just phase out.
Yep.
That's how it works.
Yeah, unless
I
I want
am
to play
an
games with
NPC.
you, me, the main character. If I want to play games
Yeah,
with you,
then me as the NPC jumps online to play with Tyler. That's correct.
That's right. Oh man, someday I'm gonna write an entire music album of just Taylor Swift songs, but sung from the perspective of whatever guy wronged her. Because I think
That's a
that would
good
be a really
idea.
interesting album to just like all these famous Taylor Swift songs, or like let's sing it from the other person's point of view and like see how it changes, right? If there's a way to like,
Wouldn't that mean you'd also be portraying like other famous musicians?
yeah, probably, I suppose.
Like, didn't she date John Mayer?
John Mayer,
So
Jake
that mean-
Gyllenhaal.
That means you can collab with them on the song.
oh,
You can, because I know you got John Mayer's email. You just send him an email like, "Hey man, I'm writing this album
yeah,
about your perspective," and he's like, "I'll play a sweet guitar lick on it."
yeah,
I'm
dude.
like, thanks, John
Like,
Mayer.
Take some time away from the Grateful Dead, John Mayer, and let's
Yeah.
record this album. And it's not even necessarily an anti-Taylor Swift album. It's just let's just look at another
No,
perspective.
it's an
on these
opposite
songs.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I just have to learn how to play an instrument and how to write songs and sing and stuff.
Yeah, it'll
So,
take you
I'll
like
get
a
there.
couple weeks.
Yeah.
You're good.
Yeah, that's easy.
Yeah.
That stuff's easy.
It's gonna, you know what? The album's gonna come out in 6 months. Everybody.
Yeah, I'm saying it now. This album comes out in 6 months.
Actually, it's gonna take you and 7 other people 15 months to make it work. That's how it's gonna be. just like Half-Life opposing force.
Just like Opposing Force. So yeah, so they did Opposing Force, and hot on the heels of Opposing Force, after it did well, Valve had Gearbox make another expansion to Half-Life. This one tells the story of the Black Mesa incident from another perspective, that is of Barney Calhoun, who is the unnamed security guard in the original Half-Life. They gave him a name. I think he shows up in a lot of different places in that game. I think he's supposed to be different characters every time, but they sort of like take this one character and at least give one of them a name and a real story to follow.
He's the unsung hero of Half-Life
That's true.
in my mind.
Yeah. Blue Shift is really interesting to me because it was a standalone expansion, so it didn't require the base Half-Life game to be installed. It also included an HD models pack, which doubled the polygons of most Half-Life models. And you could use those models in the original Half-Life and Opposing Force. So it like kind of upgraded the graphics from like what I would call vaguely Nintendo 64 quality in 1998 to like a Dreamcast quality, which is good.
Hey, we like that.
Yeah, it's good because another company about this time was leading up a project to port Half-Life and Blue Shift to the Dreamcast. And those graphics, the original graphics, like obviously weren't going to fly on Sega's flagship system. And Blue Shift was meant to be originally as this, like when you buy the Dreamcast version, it has this bonus content, like sort of like Decay is on PS2, right? It's like, it's this bonus content that's only on the Dreamcast version. And that's what Gearbox was making. Like, so it was like kind of intended to be a Dreamcast game. I also remember, like I said, you can apply those models to the original Half-Life and Opposing Force. I do remember some controversy when Half-Life 2 came out because they released the first Half-Life game on the Source engine, which basically did nothing except make the water look fancy. But but it did not include the HD models at the time. And it was kind of like, why would I play the source version when it's the old models and I can't even use the HD models? Which is like, how
weird.
Yeah, it's like, how are you going to show off your cool new engine, but then not even use like the highest quality assets? Like the old version actually looks better, right? Except for the water.
You'd want to use the best quality.
Yeah, it was, and this is just me remembering because I think it's different now. I'm pretty sure the HD models you could use in Half-Life Source now, and they're like slightly different. And there's like a whole wiki that will tell you the differences between the shininess of certain models. But that problem has since been rectified. But it was just weird at the time. I'm just remembering that time period because that was like as I was starting to like come online and become a PC gamer, was like in the Half-Life 2, Half-Life Source days. Blue Shift got good reviews as well. Not quite as good as Opposing Force, but I think by June in 2001, when the game was finally released, Half-Life was feeling kind of old. And Barney's Adventure at Black Mesa was like kind of just another retread of the same story we'd already seen twice before. And it was like games moved so fast back in those days that like a 3-year-old game was like, might as well be ancient history, you know?
Yeah, there's just so much happening and coming out. And yeah, because like you don't have these like segments of the internet to remember it, you know, be super fans. It's like, yeah, it just gets lost in the shuffle.
Yeah. Yeah. So in January of 2001, so this is like 6 months before Blue Shift came out, Sega announced that they were going to discontinue the Dreamcast after less than 2 years on the shelves. There were a lot of reasons for this. We've probably talked about them before. It was very easy to pirate. Dreamcast games, literally just burn them to a CD. Like once the pirating groups figured out a way to do it on unmodified consoles, it was kind of over. The PS2 was just like better in every way. The Dreamcast didn't even have a DVD player. So it was like, if you were going to buy a new console at that point in time, no reason to buy a Dreamcast. It's all about the PS2, right? PS2 is better in every way. So by January 2001, Sega was like, okay, we got to call it here. They would continue releasing games over the next year. There were still a few classics for the Dreamcast that came out after they stopped making it. But a lot of Dreamcast projects got canceled, including the port of Half-Life and Blue Shift to the Dreamcast. So that's Blue Shift had already been announced as being available for PC as well. But I think that's kind of an interesting point in this history. It's not really Gearbox's fault. It's not really anybody's fault except for Sega's for canceling the Dreamcast. But that version of Half-Life does exist on the internet. And of course, you should not pirate it. And I, of course, never played it because I don't own a legal copy of it. But it does exist on the internet. Yeah, it does exist because it was basically finished by the time they decided, we're not doing this. So yeah, that did not stop the porting efforts of Gearbox, though, because they were contracted to put Half-Life on the PS2. And that version got its own expansion we already mentioned earlier, Decay, which is a co-op adventure between two scientists who work at Black Mesa. And it's like kind of a separate story. It's not just a retread of the same story from a different point of view, as far as I know. But we haven't played it. We got to play that because that sounds like a really fun co-op experience for us.
Dude, part of me wants to stream us playing it.
We could do that.
I know that's a lot, but I want to do that. I want to make it a thing we can do because we've talked about this forever, I feel like.
Yeah.
Right. So I was like, we should we'll look into that.
Yeah. We'll look into that. I'm not willing to commit to it in the same way I'm willing to commit to 6 months for the Taylor Swift Response album.
Yes, of course not. Well, one is way more important than the other.
Right.
We can all agree.
Right. Of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that version of Half-Life did get decent reviews, although again, Half-Life was kind of old news by 2001 when the port finally came out. It wasn't a great port, but I suppose if by 2001 you still hadn't played Half-Life on a PC, like this was your chance to play it on a TV with a controller. Like if your reason for not playing Half-Life by 2001 was I'm not a PC gamer and I don't play games on my PC, like, okay, here it is for PS2. It's acceptable, I guess. And you could play it with a controller. So yeah, those 3 expansions to Half-Life would get Gearbox the street credit they needed to move forward with their own, to move forward with all the stuff that they wanted to do. They had some original ideas in the work, but they did still do a few more jobs that I like to think of something as like a software development mercenary jobs.
Yeah.
And when I say that, I mean, well, I'll get into it in a second here, but
Heroes for Hire.
That's right. Yeah. So in late 2001, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 released for all major consoles at the time, PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2, Xbox, and GameCube. There were a couple of different handheld ports, my favorite being the Game Boy Advance version. That game came out and got like perfect 10s across the board. Like it's still on GameSpot, like one of the few games that had a perfect 10 alongside like Ocarina of Time and a couple others. Like like Tony Hawk 3 was like, there's nothing wrong with this game. It's absolutely like perfect. And I don't disagree. I like I personally like Tony Hawk 2 a little bit more, but I think that's just my own personal attachment to Tony Hawk 2 and not an indictment of Tony Hawk 3 in any way. The first Tony Hawk game never saw a PC port, but the second one did, from a company called LTI Grey Matter, which was my preferred version of the game because I had ordered it from a Scholastic book order catalog in 2000. Remember those?
What?
Yeah, and on the back of it,
Dude.
they always had 2 PC games. One of them was like an educational game, and the other one was like something random. And one time it was Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, and I managed to convince my parents to buy that for me. So I
mean, it's in Scholastic books. It's educational.
That's right. Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah. I played so much of that game on my parents' computer, and I did it all with a joystick called the Gravis Blackhawk. I'll let you Google that if you want to see what I was playing.
The Gravis
Blackhawk. I was playing Tony Hawk 3 with that thing, and I got pretty good at it. It was very
wow.
It was very
Dude.
annoying in the way it sounded when you moved it around. I know that I annoyed my dad at a certain point because of the way, when you do manuals in that game, you have to do like the up down or down up, and it's like there's like a rhythm to it. And like, I think I just did that so much that my dad got really annoyed by it.
You can get a sealed in-box Gravis Blackhawk for $24.25 on eBay.
You shouldn't. It's bad. It's terrible.
That's so weird because I want to play every single game with it from now on.
I played a lot of games with it in my early PC gaming days.
Has someone beat Dark Souls with a Gravis Blackhawk? That's the real question.
Probably not. Worth trying. Maybe you could be the first.
Worth trying. Maybe it'll be me.
Yeah.
It's gonna be me.
Yeah. So I assume that this port of Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 was successful because it was Gearbox that was tapped to do the port of Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3 several months after the game released on home consoles. And I call these kinds of jobs mercenary jobs because I think there's little to no creative effort being put into these jobs at all, except to the extent that you might consider software development itself to be an art form. And I don't necessarily disagree. But in terms of like end product that is delivered to people, it's just a straight port. There's no like creativity happening here. So like I can't imagine anybody's working on this like out of passion unless they just love Tony Hawk and want to see it on PC. This is a mercenary job that's like, we give you money, you put the game on PC because we don't want to do it ourselves, is like kind of the thing, I think. I imagine a company like Gearbox takes these kinds of jobs for the paycheck and then uses that paycheck to fund something more creatively fulfilling for them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think we've got a lot of great things out of companies that do that kind of work. After Blue Shift, Gearbox took on a couple of these jobs. So they did that Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3 port to PC. They did the 007 Nightfire port to PC, which is much maligned. We'll talk about that in a second. And then they also did the PC port of the biggest game on the Xbox, which was Halo Combat Evolved.
Dude, I loved that version I had. I missed that. I wish I still had that box.
Yeah.
Like the actual PC box it came in, because it just was like, ugh, just gives me memories.
Yeah.
Gives me so much joy.
Yeah.
But are we going to talk about how bad Nightfire was? Because I am so excited to talk about this.
Yeah. Nightfire is an interesting one because rather than just do a straight port job of the console original, they opted to basically recreate the entire game on an engine that they knew, the Gold Source engine, which is the Half-Life engine that like Opposing Force and Blue Shift all ran on. So Nightfire, if you think about it, is almost like a lost Half-Life expansion. It's unfortunate then that the PC version of this game was reviewed so poorly because they removed a lot of the vehicle missions and replaced them with like first-person shooter or stealth segments that just like were not very good. The enemy AI is truly awful. In looking up reviews for this version of the game from the time period, the enemy is always cited as like, this AI is just terrible. It's like they know where you are at all times and they just constantly shoot at you. And so it's really just like find cover, take pot shots, and then hopefully you can find some body armor because it's not regenerating health back in these days. So yeah, I remember the review in Computer Gaming World specifically, which was like a PC gaming magazine that I read religiously about 25 years ago. And I remember that their conclusion was that the best use for the Nightfire disc was as a urinal target in toilets. And I think there was even a picture of one like in a toilet. They were like, this is the best use for this game. I there was a time period where I was like, oh, this game is terrible. Why would anybody want to play it? And then when I played it, the console version, I was like, what? Why did everybody say this game was so bad? Because I'm having a lot of fun playing this on console. And it's because the PC version was terrible, but the console versions were actually pretty good.
Yeah, man. You know what this kind of reminds me of? And this is a good example of this, not like Nightfire was. And I don't know if I've covered this or not. Have you ever heard of Star Trek Elite Force?
Yeah.
So that was like a Star Trek game built on the Quake engine.
Mm-hmm.
So it feels very Quakey, but it's Star Trek. But it's
Yeah.
good. Like,
Yeah.
I played the first one and I really loved it. And so maybe I'll have to do that someday because I actually really, really liked those games. And you played as like an ensign on the away team, and it felt really cool.
Oh, that's cool.
So,
I would love to
yeah.
to hear about those games.
Oh yeah, they're really neat.
Yeah. So Nightfire PC port was not very well liked, and I think it's because they had to take some creative liberties when they recreated the game on Gold Source engine, because it sounds like vehicle stuff was just kind of out of the question without maybe modifying the engine significantly. It's interesting to me because the console versions of Nightfire ran on that same id Tech 3 engine, the Quake 3 engine. So it's not like it ran on something that like just was not available on PCs and they just had to like rebuild the game from the ground up. It must be, and this is me speculating, it must just be they were like, well, we know the Gold Source engine, we don't know the Quake 3 engine. I'm confident that it's better for us to recreate this game in Gold Source than it is for us to try to port the Quake 3 version. Seems like maybe that was the wrong call, but
yeah, that's
somebody
super
smarter
weird.
than me made that decision, I suppose.
You
Because
think
it
it would
seems like
be
a lot
less
more work.
work?
You'd think,
Yeah.
yeah. Unless you have like two programmers and they don't know anything about Quake 3, but they do know everything about Gold Source, you might go, okay, well, maybe we do just try to rebuild it on Gold Source, which is sort of similar to the Quake engine. I mean, they have similar lineage. If you look at like the game engine lineage thing on Wikipedia, like Gold Source is like descended from Quake and Quake 2. So, I mean, maybe there's some similarities there, but
that's a really, that's an interesting choice. That's a choice. I wonder if we'll ever know why they made that choice.
yeah,
So.
speculation just says it, because it can't, like, again, it had to have been more work to do that, but they must have gone, the more work is actually less work because we don't have to learn a whole new engine. That's the only thing that makes sense to me, unless there's like some weird licensing thing where it's like, oh, id won't license it to Gearbox to make the PC port, and and EA is like, oh, we're not going to pay to license this engine for PC, so like do it yourself. Like maybe that could be it, but I don't know.
Yeah.
But before the release of Nightfire's disastrous port, it was announced in July 2002 that Gearbox would be leading a PC port of Halo Combat Evolved, which is ironic because that game was, well, originally pitched as a Mac game, and then it was going to be a PC game, and then it became an Xbox exclusive. So it's like coming full circle here with Gearbox taking this Mac PC Xbox game back to PC. By E3 in 2003, they were showing off that port, which was going to come to PC about 2 years after the original hit the Xbox as a launch title in late 2001. And it was more or less like a faithful recreation of the Xbox Classic, with a notable exception: no co-op campaign. Apparently, this was too much work for Gearbox to implement, because if you remember, the original Xbox version did not do co-op over LAN. It was only split screen. And so when you're doing stuff on the same console versus if you're doing networking between multiple consoles, that can actually have a big effect on how a game is architected and designed. And if they were building the campaign without any thought for how they would do this over networking, when Gearbox gets all of the things that they need to make this port, they're like, we basically would have to rebuild the campaign from the ground up to make it support networking. So we're not going to do that. And maybe they probably asked about it. They probably pitched for it, but they were like, it'll take extra time. It'll take extra money. And they were like, nah, not important. They didn't add a split screen to it, which it would have been cool if they had added split screen, but that wasn't really an expected thing on PC. It still isn't, but it especially wasn't back in those days. Like split screen just like wasn't a thing.
I don't even think like plugging in a controller was necessarily considered a thing.
Yeah, that did work on this game, but it was like, that was like a notable thing of this game. You're like, oh, you can use a gamepad if you want. And it was like, oh, wow, gamepad support. That's a big deal. And like, that's these days, if a PC game doesn't have gamepad support, you're like, what the heck is this?
Yeah, what are you doing? It's never been easier.
Yeah, but in those days, it was a significant lift to put gamepad support on a PC game. And it was kind of like, well, if you're playing on your PC, you're playing at your desk, you have a mouse and keyboard. That's better for FPS games anyway. Nobody wants a controller. But Gearbox did have controller support. And I remember hooking my PC up to a CRT monitor, CRT TV, and playing with an original Xbox controller that I had modified to work on a standard PC. And I was like, yeah, this is just like on Xbox. And my little brother was like, why don't you just play it on Xbox? And I was like, this is better.
This is better than Xbox because it's PC. It's so much better. You have no
I was
idea.
still playing at like 640 by 480 because it was on a standard definition CRT television. So I didn't get any like HD stuff. I guess it ran at 60 frames per second, maybe, which would have been better than the original Xbox version. But
Yeah.
the PC version did include 16-player online multiplayer. And that's where they added their expansions. They added like 6 new maps, a couple of new vehicles, a couple of new weapons for the multiplayer, which was very cool.
Yeah, I think I've talked about the map. The new one that I liked was like Timberline or Timber.
Yeah, that
It
sounds
was
right.
yeah, where you were like, it was like a forest map with like hills on either side, and it was like a valley that you'd go in. It was really cool.
Yeah.
I really, really, really liked that PC version. And I think if you play the Master Chief Collection now, all that stuff's in there.
I think you're right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, so you can play it now on Master Chief
from-
Collection.
From what I understand, the Xbox 360 anniversary remake of Halo Combat Evolved is based on the PC version of it. To some people's dismay, because there are like little things that like changed about the lighting and things like that. They're like, the Xbox version's so much better. And like those problems persisted on the 360 version of the anniversary thing, which is what's in Master Chief Collection. So yeah, but that makes sense that if it started as a PC version, that all of that stuff would come over as well.
Yeah, like the fuel rod cannon, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, and the flamethrower. That was cool. One thing that I think is cool about this that is largely missing from games these days is the mod support. Randy Pitchford was very clear that supporting mods on the PC version was a high priority, and I remember they released a set of tools called Halo Custom Edition that was for the community to like make and distribute maps and mods and stuff like that. I feel like PC developers were a lot cooler with mods back in the day. There are some exceptions today. I know Fallout and Skyrim like has some official support for mods. I think Baldur's Gate does. Like, I'm not saying that doesn't exist today, but it was a bigger deal back then. And it was very cool that it was like officially supported with Halo Custom Edition. And I think
it was
okay.
It was cultural, right?
Yeah.
Like it was more of a cultural thing back then where it was like, okay, all these guys are PC guys. They like to play with this stuff. They like to mod it. We'll do it for them.
Yeah.
You know? And
this is also in a time where like today you can get the Unity engine for free. You can get Unreal Engine for free. If you want to make your own game, like there are free tools to do that. Back in those days, if you wanted to make your own game and you didn't want to start from actual scratch, making a mod was a pretty good way to do that. And like there are a lot of people that work in the industry today that got their start by making mods for older games, because that was like, it gave you a base to build off of and you can actually just make a game rather than have to like program a graphics and sound engine from scratch, right?
Doom mods, man.
Yep.
Doom.
Yeah.
So many people got jobs from Doom mods.
Yep. So it's a little less common today because I think those people that are like trying to learn how to make games, they'll just download Unreal and go to the asset store and like find a bunch of placeholder stuff and just use that. And like, that's cool too. But mods are like less important to that set of people. But I do think that mod support is what contributed heavily to the longevity of the original Halo on PC, which I think kept going even long after Halo 2 came out on Xbox. Especially because it wouldn't be until 3 years after Halo 2 hit Xbox that there would actually be a PC port of the game, which had its own controversy surrounding it because that port wasn't done by Gearbox. It was actually done by a company literally called Hired Gun. So I guess is funny.
Little on the nose.
Yeah, it had some problems. I remember it was not very well received back in the time. It had absurd system requirements for the time. It also literally required Windows Vista to run, which has never been an operating system that people loved, but especially back in those days, people were like they were purposefully not upgrading to Vista and sticking with XP. And they never wanted to upgrade to Vista. And I think Microsoft maybe thought that by requiring Vista for Halo 2 that they could like force people to upgrade because they were like, well, it sells Xboxes, maybe it'll sell Windows Vista too. And they were wrong about that. There were also some
Windows. Do you think Vista might be one of the most hated Windows operating systems?
Yes. Yeah.
I think so.
It's
I think
right
it's
up there
like
with
number
Windows
one,
ME.
if not. Yeah, like people did not.
It's
I mean,
traded
I
places
did not.
with ME.
I was. Yeah, I liked XP. It was all about XP.
People don't like Windows 11 today, but I feel like a lot more people use it begrudgingly, just because it's the latest thing. But Windows Vista was like people who are on XP were like, nah, I'm good. And the same goes for Millennium Edition, Windows ME. People are like on 98. They're like, I'm good. I'll wait for XP because that was already announced and stuff.
For sure.
But yeah, requiring Vista was not great. And also, I remember shortly after that game came out, there were some like updates, or there were some community patches and mods to make it also work on XP. So they were like, you say it requires Vista because of reasons, but here we are playing Halo 2 on Windows XP. So
too bad. Yeah.
yeah. I do. So Vista never really redeemed itself, but I do think that a lot of the things that made Vista feel bad were fixed by the end of it. And it's a lot of it is like driver issues because Windows Vista changed how drivers work in Windows. They didn't like go back to the old way when they released Windows 7. I think just by the end of Vista's lifespan, like drivers had been updated to not be terrible under Vista. And so when Windows 7 came out, it was like, oh, Windows 7 is so much better than Vista. And it's like, well, it's kind of the same thing. It's just new now. And like all of the problems with Vista have been sort of ironed out. Because Windows 7 was basically just Vista 2. But I digress. That's I have thoughts on.
We can get a whole
systems.
topic on operating systems for Windows and how they affected gaming. That's
right.
a long conversation.
That would be a fun conversation, though.
We could do it.
Yeah, because like Windows 95, I remember that's part of why Valve exists was because like Gabe Newell ported Doom to Windows 95 and like something about that process he didn't like, and so he left Microsoft and formed Valve and stuff like that. But yeah, so this is kind of the early years of Gearbox in their like mercenary days, I would call them, because they were making Half-Life games, they were making Halo games, they were making Nightfire, they were doing Tony Hawk, like they were kind of just like working on other people's stuff. And they had more ambitious projects in the pipeline, but we will get to those at another time. If you thought we were going to get to Borderlands today, you thought wrong. We're going to have to talk about Brothers in Arms first, which is an original IP from Gearbox that came out on the tail end of that World War II shooter craze in the early to mid 2000s. They made several of these games, and I would like to give them their due, so we will get into them next time we talk about Gearbox in the future, because we're not done here. I don't know when we'll talk about them. Maybe the next time we come back, or maybe it'll be a little while. Let us know on Discord if you like this and want to hear more, or if you thought this was stupid and you don't care to hear more. Please tell us.
And we'll go pick something else from the list.
That's right. That's right. So, Mike, what you been playing?
Oh, man. Well, you and I played some Guild Wars Reforged again, finally.
Yep. I got that running on my Thor.
Oh, you did?
Beautifully.
So we could play Guild?
60 FPS.
Dude. Wow. We could fight in the Guild Wars together. That would be beautiful. Portably. That's a great thing. And then I kind of gave Shadow of Mordor a break because I've been some reason just in the mood. I'm getting perfection in Stardew Valley. I'm going to get there. I knocked out like 2 or 3 of the big milestones for it. So all I have left is cooking recipes, which I need 2, and I'm just waiting for springtime. And then I have to craft everything. And then I have to like marry someone and then get their star rating all the way to 12 so I can get the last star drop. And that's all I have to do. And then I hit perfection.
Ooh.
But I found all the golden walnuts, got Monster Hunter Slayer Hero or whatever. Like I'm getting there. I'm getting there. It's just taking a lot of time, but I kind of love the process.
Yeah.
And I've been like watching YouTube videos or listening to podcasts while I do it. And it's a very relaxing thing. So I'm really enjoying that. But what have you been playing, Tyler?
Well, speaking of relaxing while playing a game and like watching something else, I have been spending a lot of time playing Pokemon Alpha Sapphire on my Thor while watching the Olympics late at night.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So I've been watching snowboarding. I've been watching figure skating. I've been watching
curling.
Not curling hasn't been on late at night for me because I'm watching like after 11 o'clock here. So curling, I think, is a little bit more popular maybe, but I haven't watched any of that.
I'm all about the little brooming.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. Curling is fun to watch.
Curling's fun to watch, and I don't really entirely get it.
I don't get it. There's a lot of things that I don't get. Like I was watching the biathlon last night, which is like a 10-kilometer ski and also halfway.
And the shooting.
Yeah, like halfway through it, they're like, oh, but like how well can you shoot a gun though? Like, yeah, you can ski fast, but how well can you shoot a gun at targets?
Dude.
I was like, who invented this? And then it got popular enough that like we want to do it at the Olympics. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me.
Dude, the Olympics have, especially the Summer Olympics, have like some real random stuff in it. And I kind of love the Olympics for that, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
Like, a big fan.
There is something to the like, yeah, try it, see what happens. Like maybe we don't do it next year. That's okay. Maybe it takes off and people really love it. We do, we found a new staple sport. But it's just like somebody went to the like biathlon, people invented that maybe years ago. I don't know anything about the history of the biathlon, but I'm just like, somebody thought, yeah, let's stop in the middle of this, shoot a gun. And like, that's that's a skill worth
Yeah.
testing. Both your
Cross-
ability to ski and your ability to shoot a gun, because those are related
Cross country
things.
ski to shooting. It makes sense. If you're gonna rob a bank on skis, you need to know how to do it. Kind of like how they added breakdancing, and there was that big controversy 2 years ago with the breakdancing thing. Oh my gosh. That was all over social media for like a month, it felt like.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah. That's a good way to do it. I might try to do that tonight myself.
Yeah,
I might try to watch Little Olympics and play Stardew Valley.
I got the 4th badge in Alpha Sapphire. I cannot remember the name of the badge, but it was a Fire Blaze badge or something. I fought a fire type gym for it. So I guess I'm halfway through that game. I guess you got to get the 8 badges and then you got to do the Elite 4. So I guess maybe I'm a third of the way through the game. But I'm having a good time. And so I've been playing that and a little bit of Star Wars Outlaws when I get time. But because that's such a bigger lift, I got to boot it up and it's a whole thing. I don't have haven't spent as much time on that. But that's kind of it. It's really Pokemon Alpha Sapphire and Olympics and chill. And I've been having a great time with that.
Dude, sometimes that's the best way to play video games, just to like relax and have something on in the background. I think in the modern days, everyone's playing so much like PvP online multiplayer stuff that it's like you got to just chill sometimes. You got to just take a breather and chill, and it's nice.
Yep.
So, but nice, cool. Well, I'm excited to maybe learn more about Gearbox soon. I don't know what we're doing next week. I have no clue. I'll figure it out as we go along, like we always do. But things you can do to support our podcast, you can join our Discord. You go to codexpodcast.net. That's our website. All our links are on there, including the Discord link, where that never expires. And you join, and then you have to do the agreement to the rules, and then everything unlocks, and you'll see it. If you want to send us an email, codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com, or use the contact form on the website. That works. If you want to support us, the best thing you can do right now to support us, just tell your friends about us. Rate us, review us, do all the podcast things that everyone says to do. Follow us on social media or YouTube or wherever. Just all the things that everyone tells you to do every time you consume a piece of online media. Just do that. Right?
Yeah.
That's
do
it.
all those things.
That's all you need to do. Yeah. But with that, Tyler, do you want to say goodbye to everybody?
Yeah. Goodbye, everybody.